Oh, what a pick by the Baltimore Ravens. Zay Flowers, a stud separator, awesome speed, plays like his hair on fire. Hair is on fire. Should have used that phrase before, maybe practiced it before. But now we're going to see him practice with Lamar Jackson in Baltimore. Is this the receiver, Heath Cummings, who will finally break through and be great for fantasy purposes with the Ravens?
No, Mark Andrews is still there. So I think his best hope is being the number 2 target on the Ravens. And I think he's got a little bit of a battle to do that. Like, he has the best opportunity of the wide receivers we've talked about so far tonight, for sure, to be the number 1 wide receiver on his own team. But Rashad Bateman had plenty of pedigree. That Ravens just gave Odell Beckham a bunch of money. I would expect what this signals to me is we're going to see a lot more passes from the Baltimore Ravens this season.
I would agree with that, and makes sense. They just paid Lamar Jackson a ton of money, and they have really stocked this receiving core as if to say, okay, no more excuses. We're not loading you up with a bunch of second and third round picks or first round picks that don't work out. Now you've got no excuse, Lamar. Now you've got to get the job done. And I'll tell you what, I think that Zay Flowers can almost work in a role similar to what we saw during Marquise Brown's breakout time in the second half of like 2 seasons ago. I guess it's maybe more like 3 seasons ago, when he started picking up more short area work and he was making some great plays after the catch. He was being used in the red zone. I wonder if we see Zay Flowers evolve into that role in Baltimore, maybe as soon as the second half of this year. I'm excited about this player, but I tend to agree with you. I think the best of Zay Flowers won't happen until after 2023, unless there's injuries. And we've seen OBJ miss time before with injuries. He's had 2 torn ACLs in his career. And we've seen Rashad Bateman not last through a season before. There's a chance of it, but I don't know if I can bank on that. Nonetheless, I would be excited to take him in about round 8, round 9 in a redraft league, just on the hope that he ends up having some monster weeks and works out as a number 3 receiver. Am I too optimistic, Heath? Or is that about the time when you would draft him too?
Yeah, I think we said round 8, round 9 for Quentin Johnston, and the projections, Zay Flowers came out 1 spot ahead of Johnston. It'll be a completely different type of production from completely different types of players, but they are low-end, borderline number 4 wide receivers. But I do think it's an easier path for Zay Flowers to find his way to 120 targets in his rookie season than it is for Quentin Johnston. The difference is that Quentin Johnston's targets might be worth quite a bit more than Flowers.
That might be a good point. That might be fair. And certainly both of them, I would say, in redraft ahead of Jackson, Smith, and Jigba. Does this do anything? I mean, I don't know where you had Bateman and Odell Beckham ranked anyway. Does this make you less inclined to draft them because Flowers is there?
Well, 100%. I think I would go right now Flowers, then Beckham, then Bateman.
Yeah.
But and they're not separated by that much. But yeah, I had some hope for a bounce back season for Rashad Bateman, or maybe a return to not greatness but goodness for Odell Beckham. And I think this Flowers pick will make him the number 1 wide receiver, at least by the time we get to the end of the year.
I have to ask this, and you're going to rankle your nose at this question, but this might be the first time ever in Mark Andrews' storied career that he's sharing the field with this type of talent at wide receiver. Does it make you a little nervous about the target volume for Mark Andrews?
Yes, I dropped Mark Andrews' target percentage by 1%, and he is now only projected to outscore tight end 3 TJ Hawkinson by 2.5 fantasy points per game. But it is, yeah, I mean, it's a little bit of a ding. And the flip side of that, the more positive side of that, the way you could have framed that, Dave, is has Lamar Jackson ever had a set of weapons on the field like this? And the answer is absolutely, positively, no, he has not. This is by far the best set of weapons he's ever had in his career.
Okay, so Mark Andrews, I think you were stumping for him in late round 2. Are you still there?
He'll be at the 2-3 turn. Yeah.
Okay. I'm more of a round 3 guy on Mark Andrews. I feel like there's enough players to take ahead of him, 24, 25 players at least that I would take ahead of him. Let's get to Lamar, because this is somebody who can make plays after the catch. This is somebody who can get open with his speed down the field. And we've already talked. This is going to be a new offense for Lamar. This isn't going to be the same type of conservative deal that we've seen before. Does this give him all right, look, he's already had the upside to be QB1 because of his rushing. But does he have a shot at like 4,300 passing yards and 35 touchdowns on top of whatever he does as a rusher?
I don't know about the 35 touchdowns. I'm not sure they'll throw quite that much, but I'd say right now I have him projected for 4,100 passing yards, 29 passing touchdowns, just under 800 or just under 900 rushing yards. So I don't know that he can get a 4,000, 1,000 season, but I do think that he is back up into the QB4 discussion. There's only three quarterbacks who definitely have his upside. That's Mahomes, that's Allen, that's Hurts.
I agree.
He was lower than a couple other guys because his floor was a little lower, but now I think with
Now
the
it's coming
contract
up.
signed, with Flowers added, he's right back at QB4.
Last but not least, Zay Flowers, dynasty talk, long-term view on Zay Flowers. Where are you sitting with him now compared to Jackson Smith and Jigba and Quentin Johnston?
Yeah, I think he's third in that group. I think he's probably the sixth pick in rookie drafts in one quarterback leagues, and I think he's probably the ninth pick in super flex leagues. I would also put Jordan Addison ahead of him.
I would put Addison ahead of him too, even though he's going to be in the shadow of Justin Jefferson for however long that Justin Jefferson decides to play for Minnesota. I wonder if there is a case to be made in non-PPR for Zay Flowers ahead of Smith and Jigba. Because if you're looking long-term and those catches don't count, I mean, I think that's the ticket for Smith and Jigba to be good for fantasy. I think Flowers might be able to outproduce him in that specific type of format. But yeah, kind of falls behind a little bit long-term in that range. So we've got the word on Zay Flowers. We invite you to look at our videos on Smith and Jigba, on Quentin Johnston, and on Jordan Addison. Interesting landing spots for these wide receivers in the 2023 draft. Like and subscribe to Fantasy Football Today on YouTube.